live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
The World Meteorological Organization said heat waves will continue to hit many parts of Europe this week, with some countries on course to see record temperatures.
Boris Johnson takes charge as Britain's Prime Minister on a mission to deliver Brexit by October 31 with or without a deal.
Political analysts concerned over ominous and blatant collusion between Hong Kong's notorious criminal gangs and local police following the savage beating of Hong Kong protesters by a mob of triad gangsters.
And Tokyo promises a high-tech Olympics complete with robots as it marks a year to go until the 2020 Games. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Anna Clee from the Las Vegas Bureau.
Welcome, Anna.
Thank you, Alma.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. First, in the Philippines, National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon and Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana clarified that President Duterte must have been misheard in one instance during his fourth State of the Nation address while tackling the West Philippine Sea issue. President Duterte has previously been criticized for failing to protect the Philippines' claims in the region in favor of improved relations with China. But National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon said that the Philippine government rejected these attacks. Let's listen in.
Anyway, Senior Justice Carpio has been telling these stories about our inability to protect our sovereign rights, But the President is very strong in his statements that we are not giving up our sovereign rights sa West Philippine Sea. And sinabi din niya na that area has always been a traditional fishing ground of all people around the itong paligid ng South China Sea. Vietnam, Chinese, Taiwanese, Japanese and Korean, even Koreans, and the Filipinos, and also the Malaysians and Indonesians. So, ang ibig sabihin niyan, sabi nga niya, so they can also fish because they have always been there. So, atin yan, pero we can allow them to fish. Ang gusto niya sabihin doon. Yung sinasabi nila na we are not in possession, I think that is, as I said a while ago, mukhang hindi tama yun dahil paano mo masasabing natin possession, meron nga tayong dalawang dokumento to prove that it is ours. The UNCLOS of 1982 plus the arbitral ruling of 2016, which invalidates the non-dust line of the Chinese.
In other words, the International Tribunal ruling, we would like to emphasize, did not rule on sovereignty or on territories. It ruled on the features. What are their nature? What are their nature? The most rightful reference to sovereignty and territory would still be the 1898 Treaty of Paris. The UNCLOS 1982 actually gives us the economic rights to the 200-mile nautical mile EEZ. It has given us exclusive rights over the seabed, but on fisheries, we have two functions. One is to conserve, and one is to utilize. Are we capable of conserving the whole West Philippine Sea and protecting it? We are, in a limited sense, because of the lack of equipment. We have 5 marine science research vessels from the DNR, from the fisheries, from the armed forces, and UPMSI. That's how we look at the condition of our domain. To protect it, we have the Coast Guard, the fisheries, and of course our armed forces and our maritime command. Do we have enough? You have the answer to that. Of course, we do not have enough. But are we not building up our Navy, our Air Force, our Coast Guard, our fisheries? We are. And in fact, we are even strengthening our positions in the islands that we occupy today. So,
Heat waves will continue to hit many parts of Europe this week, with some countries on course to see record temperatures, the World Meteorological Organization said on Tuesday. Germany and the Benelux countries are likely to experience their hottest day ever on Thursday, when they will have to deal with a peak of over 40 degrees Celsius, that's 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Several parts of France have set records for the lowest amount of rainfall since records began, whilst in Spain, the National Weather Service is warning of an extreme fire risk for large parts of the country. The warnings follow a sweltering weekend for the USA, where records were set for several locations, including Atlanta, New Jersey, and New York's JFK Airport. A spokesperson for the WMO said on Tuesday that extreme weather events are not a problem that's going to go away, and that heat waves are starting earlier, becoming increasingly common and more intense.
Météo France is warning that the heat wave will aggravate the drought. It hasn't rained in many parts of France since the end of the last heat wave, at the end of June, start of July. A number of places in France have set new records for the lowest amount of rainfall since records started. The Spanish Meteorological Service is again today warning of an extreme fire risk in large parts of the country. It's a combination of heat, of wind, and the risk of storms and lightning setting things ablaze. A cold front is now on its way it's effectively put an end to the heat wave across the eastern United States. Quite often the flip side of heat is storms, and the National Weather Service now is forecasting severe storms and heavy flooding in parts of the country. Heat waves do bear the hallmark of climate change, and they are, as we saw in June, they're becoming more frequent, they're starting earlier, and they're becoming more intense. So it is, it's not a problem that's going to go away, but hopefully thanks to the heat health warnings, the heat health action plans, now in many parts of the world, we can make the incident that we saw back in 2003 in the European heat wave, that hopefully should be a thing of the past now. We know better, we've learnt our lesson, and we do have measures in place.
Meanwhile, in Bangladesh, parts of the country, including the huge Cox's Bazar refugee camp, are struggling to cope with continual heavy rains that have brought widespread flooding and destruction.
Mostly 80 to 90% houses are already inundated by flood, and crops are damaged, agricultural lands are already submerged. People have already shifted their houses to the high land in the shelters.
In a statement on Tuesday, a spokesperson for the World Food Program said that the agency has supported more than 11,000 refugees affected by the rains and flooding in the first 2 weeks of July, a significant rise compared to the same time last year. Refugee camps have been affected by hundreds of landslides caused by storms and rain, and WFP engineering teams have been working against the clock to stabilize slopes and create drainage systems. The flood response is already greater than that of 2018, and the second half of the monsoon season in Bangladesh is still to come.
Okay, let's go back to Europe. Trains there were slowed down and holidaymakers flocked to swimming pools, beaches, and lakes in Western Europe as another heat wave set new temperature records. The operator of the British rail network, Network Rail, said it was slowing down trains in response to the extreme weather, which comes only weeks after another record-breaking heat wave in Europe in June. Extreme heat can cause overhead wires to sag and become damaged by fast trains. We slow down services to keep passengers safe when this happens, according to the company on Twitter. Weather service Météo France said a host of French cities saw their highest level since records began on Tuesday, with wine capital Bordeaux recording 41.2 degrees Celsius or 106.16 degrees Fahrenheit, beating the previous high of 40.7 degrees Celsius registered in August of 2003. Forecasters predicted new temperature highs in neighboring countries, Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany, and the Netherlands, where the mercury could beat the previous record of 38.6 degrees Celsius on Wednesday, according to the Dutch Weather Office. Britain's Met Office has said there's a chance that the UK temperature record of 38.5 degrees Celsius, which was recorded in Faversham, Kent in August 2004, will also be exceeded on Thursday at the peak of the heat.
A political analyst concerned over ominous and blatant collusion between Hong Kong's notorious criminal gangs and local police following the savage beating of Hong Kong protesters by a mob of triad gangsters last Sunday. On Sunday night, a group of unknown men in white attacked people at the MTR station with bamboo sticks and metal bars, among other weapons. The incident left at least 45 people injured, including journalists and a lawmaker. At least 11 have since been arrested over the attacks, with one arrested at the airport as he was trying to fly back to Bangkok, reported the Apple Daily. In a city that prides itself on a reputation for safety, the scenes caused outrage and fear. They also offered a glimpse into an underworld that has long stalked the city. For seasoned watchers of Hong Kong and its shadowy nexus of organized crime, the brazen beatings came as little surprise. Police sources told the South China Morning Post they believe members from the same gangs were involved in Sunday's violence. Those who study the phenomenon say there is rarely a clear evidence chain.
We now see the gangsters, probably from triad groups, they have beaten a lot of people without getting immediate arrest. Okay, and that is very ominous. That it seems there's a kind of blatant collusion between the Hong Kong SL government and the suspected gangsters.
Hong Kong police have said some of the arrested men had triad backgrounds. It rejected all claims that they colluded with the gangsters or turned a blind eye to the attacks until it was too late.
Now in Hong Kong, the police would from time to time try to gather the intelligence from the triad groups. However, last Sunday was very unusual. That is, it seems that the police was trying to enlist the help of triad groups, trying to beat the residents so as to frighten away the residents from joining the future political protests against the government with regard to the ongoing campaign against the extradition bill and their campaign for full democracy.
The idea of triads embracing Beijing's goals is a remarkable transition for crime groups that once used to be arch enemies of communism. Their shifting allegiances reflect the malleable loyalties of organized crime and China's rising power. Triads trace their origins to 19th century Chinese fraternal organizations. Most fled to Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan when the communists took power in mainland China in 1949 and revolutionary leader Mao Zedong cracked down on black societies. Many allied with the defeated Kuomintang Chinese nationalists in Taiwan. The nationalists used them against their opponents during the nearly 4 decades of martial law known as the White Terror, when thousands were killed or disappeared. But many triad groups began shifting allegiances in the early 1990s as China embarked on its astonishing economic rise. Beijing began showing an openness to triads during this time.
Some of them, they also escaped from mainland China, escaped from the communist rule. So they came here for different reasons, both for political ideology and for making money. So that's why in the past, at least some of them, they were rather hostile to the CCP under Mao. But as time went by, particularly after the hangover of Hong Kong to China, I think many gangsters have become more pragmatic. And they know that by colluding with the government, they may magnify their economic gains. In China, the Chinese government has reported that it has engaged in collusion with triad groups to grab back the land whenever the Chinese government found that it was more convenient to do so. Whereas in Taiwan, especially during the authoritarian era, Taiwanese government was confronted with a huge and continuous wave of democracy movement. So it has reportedly gained the help of triad groups trying to suppress the movement by force.
Political analyst Dixon Singh said the UN long attacks were designed to inspire fear and to deter people joining future protests. But that, he said, has created a large backlash and it may backfire. Anti-government protesters are now threatening to hold a rally this weekend in Yanlong. And Hong Kong is bracing for what could be a 7th consecutive week of political violence.
China's foreign ministry accuses the U.S. of manipulating Hong Kong's mass protests.
那么我还想说，近期呢也有不少包括香港本地的媒体披露出了一些情况，可以明显看出有外国势力在背后操纵、策划，甚至组织实施有关行动的这样的一些迹象。我想，美国的这些官员他能否向世界诚实的、明确的回答，美国在近期香港的事态当中扮演了怎样的角色？它到底意欲何为？美国再没有自知之明，它至少应该清楚一点：香港是中国的香港，中国绝不会容忍任何外国势力插手香港事务，更不会容许任何外国势力来搞乱香港。我们奉劝美国呢，趁早收回他们在香港伸出的黑手。
The savage beating of the Hong Kong protesters by a mob of suspected gangsters on Sunday has deepened fears about the use of shadowy hired muscle to defend China's interests. At least 45 people were hospitalized after Sunday's attack, causing fear and outrage in the Asian financial hub. The incident has also drawn criticism from both the UK and the US, who have expressed concerns over eroding freedoms in the city. Weeks of marches and sporadic clashes have left Beijing's authority in the city of 7 million facing its most serious tests since Britain handed it back to China in 1997 under a deal that allowed Hong Kongers to keep liberties, including an independent judiciary and freedom of speech. The initial demonstrations were sparked by a now suspended bill that would have allowed extraditions to mainland China, but they have evolved into a wider movement calling for democratic reform and a halt to sliding freedoms in the territory. China had promised to respect the territory's freedom in the semi-autonomous territory after its handover from Britain in 1997. Hong Kong enjoys liberties unseen on the mainland, including freedom of speech, unfettered access to the internet, and an independent judiciary. The UK has said it will be keeping a close eye on Hong Kong's investigations into the bloody assault on protesters.
Meanwhile, U.S. Senator Marco Rubio said in a video message that the violence in Hong Kong showed that Communist Party of China used organized crime groups to attack protesters there and showed us who we are dealing with, he said. Let's listen in.
Yeah, China has been systematically chipping away at Hong Kong's freedoms, at its democracy, at its system of government, and the people were finally fed up and they started protesting. And the response? The response is that it appears the Chinese government has basically empowered these street gangs, these thugs associated with organized crime, to viciously attack these protesters, and not just the protesters, but whoever was standing around this train station. It gives you great insight into the type of government that we are dealing with in the mainland of China, the Communist Party of China. People that would empower thugs and criminals and gangsters to go after innocent people and beat them the way they did. We should be condemning it, but the whole world should be condemning it. They can now see the true nature of that government, of that Communist Party.
Boris Johnson takes charge as Britain's Prime Minister on Wednesday on a mission to deliver Brexit by October 31 with or without a deal. The former Foreign Secretary became the new leader of the governing centre-right Conservative Party on Tuesday. Johnson has promised to overhaul the divorce deal despite Brussels insisting no changes are possible. Johnson's predecessor, Theresa May, was forced out after failing to get Parliament to support a Brexit deal she struck with EU leaders. Take a look.
Thank you, Cyril. Thank you, Charles. Thank you very much.
Expect a wide range of issues: Syria, relations with Iran, the DPRK, North Korea, the vital importance of the work we do together.
Are you the next Prime Minister? We're going to get Brexit done on October 31st. We're going to take advantage of all the opportunities that it will bring in a new spirit of can-do. And we are once again going to believe in ourselves and what we can achieve. And like some slumbering giant, we are going to rise and ping off the guy ropes of self-doubt and negativity.
The Russian army denies having violated South Korean airspace after Seoul announced warning shots against a Russian military aircraft, claiming that its planes had flown over the neutral waters of the Sea of Japan.
Авиагруппа в составе двух российских стратегических ракетоносцев Ту-95МС и двух китайских стратегических бомбардировщиков Хун-6К осуществила полет по заранее спланированному маршруту над нейтральными водами японского и восточно-китайских морей. За время выполнения задания авиационная группа 11 раз сопровождалась истребителями иностранных государств. Непрофессионально повели себя экипажи самолетов Южной Кореи. В районе спорных островов они совершили опасные маневры, пересекая курс авиационной группы и создавая угрозу безопасности полета. Российские экипажи строго выдерживали заданный режим полета. По данным объективного контроля, нарушений воздушного пространства Южной Кореи и Японии не допущено. Удаление от островов ближайшего к ним самолета авиагруппы составило более 25 километров. Действия южнокорейских экипажей необходимо расценивать как воздушное хулиганство.
Moscow said 2 South Korean jets on Tuesday approached the Russian aircraft near the easternmost islets of Dokdo, disputed islands controlled by the South but claimed by Japan, where they are known as Takeshima. The South Korean aircraft carried out unprofessional maneuvers by crossing the Russian jets' flight path and threatening their safety, the ministry said, adding that the South Korean crews did not contact their Russian counterparts. Russia said its bombers did not veer off course and were more than 25 kilometers or 15 miles away from the islands. Officials in South Korea said it was the first time a Russian plane had violated South Korean airspace. South Korea's Air Force scrambled fighter jets and fired warning shots, an official at the Joint Chiefs of Staff told AFP. But Moscow said that there was no warning fire from South Korea, otherwise the Russian jets would have retaliated. July 15 of this year was supposed to be the start of construction for the $1.4 billion 30-meter telescope, or TMT, on the summit of Mauna Kea in the Big Island of Hawaii. However, despite government approval on numerous occasions, opponents to the project are not giving up without a fight, not only in Hawaii, but now in other parts of the U.S. Here is a combined report from our U.S. correspondents, Mio Asenas from Honolulu and Lonnie Valdecantos from Las Vegas.
On day one, the road leading up to Mauna Kea was supposed to close at 7 a.m. to allow construction equipment access towards the summit. However, as early as 3 a.m., protesters have already gathered themselves at the intersection leading up the mountain. Some of them were kupuno, or senior citizens, who were lying down while chained to a piece of metal grate. On day two, the protest was no longer isolated to the Big Island. Soon, gatherings were sprouting on Maui, as well as on Oahu, especially at Honolulu's airport, the state capital, and the University of Hawaii main campus. On day three, Hawaii Governor David Ige declared a state of emergency on the Big Island, authorizing deployment of reinforcements from the Maui and Honolulu police departments. Up to 33 protesters were arrested in the process, most of them kupuna or the elderly. On day four, some protest groups used the freeway in Honolulu to drive slowly, drawing attention and creating traffic. The effects of the road closure to Mauna Kea were also taking their toll on the tour companies that depend 100% of their revenues from the mountain itself. The organization has been trying in earnest to emphasize its position as well as the benefits of having the telescope in Hawaii. Protests against the TMT constructions continue to take place in cities across the U.S., such as LA and New York. For a closer look on the gathering in Las Vegas, here's Lenny Valdecantos.
Where are you from in the Highlands?
Yep. I'm from Oahu, Waianae, Hawaii, the west side of Oahu, supporting all our people out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thousands and thousands of miles across the sea, baby. Us Hawaiians still come together. Look around. Yes, sir.
The conflict between opponents and supporters regarding the 30-meter telescope construction in Hawaii resonates all over the U.S., right behind me, including here in Las Vegas.
Those whom we spoke to chose to call themselves protectors of Mauna Kea, rather than protesters against the TMT.
We're protectors, not protesters. We're here to protect our Mauna, our Aloha Aina, our Ole TMT.
And as we were talking about earlier, we are protectors of the land, we're not protesters. I'm also pro-American. I served in the Air Force for 7 years. I can be Hawaiian and American. I just need to feel that we need our story to be heard.
We remind our Nakanak over here, we are protectors of the Mauna, and they know this very well. It's funny how no matter where we're at, whether we're here, Washington, Oregon, California, our roots are very deep, still strong. When we say we're the living Aina, so everything that we instill in ourselves that we are rooted with, traditions, we take with us. That's why we say we are the Aina, because wherever we go, we are Hawaii.
So what about those in Hawaii that don't want to leave the state and looking forward to the TMT? What can you comment about that?
I cannot comment on that.
Okay, what would you like to share about why you're here today?
Malamapono, Aloha Aina, Kukia Imauna. These things that can be translated into English, but the vibes is here. Really, it's just the people and the feelings that we share. I mean, it's not just based on one ethnicity. I mean, we're all one peoples of the planet, but there are people who struggle and people who are in a position to stand and resist some oppressive forces. So here we are.
And what about a peaceful resolution? Here's what some of them had to say.
Build a telescope anywhere in the world except Big Island. Aloha Aina.
Except the whole Hawaiian island, whole Hawaii Island.
Peaceful resolution to me is just not to have the telescope built. Think of another place on this planet to build it. You know, we live on a very large planet. I'm not really sure why they chose Mauna Kea, but I'm sure there's other places that they could have built it.
Aloha all the way. You have to be patient. Ahunui is probably the biggest part of our aloha, is patience through this whole process. I pray to Keakua that Ige will see it right. He's in a position, the power to do what needs to be done right.
This was a peaceful gathering today, but it seems that there's no resolution as of yet. Reporting from Las Vegas Bureau, I'm Lonnie Valdecantos, 1 with 25.
All right, let's go over to Puerto Rico, where Governor Ricardo Rosello is expected to resign Wednesday U.S. time, according to a source familiar with the situation. The person expected to take his place is Puerto Rico Secretary of Justice Wanda Vasquez. Now, this comes only one day after his chief of staff submitted his resignation, effective July 31. Ricardo Llerandi Cruz wrote in his resignation letter that, quote, "The last few days have been extremely difficult for everyone. At this historical juncture, it is up to me to take the welfare of my family into consideration. The threats we've received can be tolerated as an individual, but I will never allow them to affect my home." Authorities in Puerto Rico have also issued a search warrant against the governor and 11 other men who exchanged derogatory chat messages mocking gays, hurricane victims, and others, according to officials. The release of those chats 2 weeks ago helped trigger huge demonstrations demanding the resignation of the governor, Ricardo Rosello. The search warrant was issued on Monday, according to Kelvin Carrasco of the Puerto Rico Justice Department. Carrasco declined to specify if the warrant has been carried out yet or what premises are named in it, only saying the probe is underway. Hours after the announcement, celebrity musician Rene Perez Residente called for an island-wide strike and another mass demonstration on Thursday. Perez and other local celebrities, including pop star Ricky Martin and trap musician Benito Martinez, the Bad Bunny, have been leading the protests. All right, the news continues here on Eagle News International. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Jollibee said it will spend $350 million to acquire loss-making coffee bean tea leaf, its largest acquisition. Jollibee will invest $100 million for an 80% stake in a Singapore holding company set up with Vietnamese partners to acquire coffee bean tea leaf brand will be JFC's largest and most multinational so far with business presence in 27 countries. Currently, Jollibee operates the largest fast food chain in the Philippines with 3,195 restaurants and counting. In the Philippines, JFC also owns Red Ribbon, Chowking, Greenwich, Manong Pepe's, Mang Inasal, and Tita Frita's Uling Uling. Internationally, JFC owns Chinese fast food restaurant Yonghe King, American hamburger restaurant chain Smash Burger in 2018, and Vietnamese coffee shop chain Highlands Coffee.
Global trade tensions, continued uncertainty, and rising prospects for a no-deal Brexit are sapping the strength of the world economy, which faces a precarious 2020, the International Monetary Fund warned on Tuesday. Trade conflicts are undercutting investment and weakening manufacturing, and the IMF urged countries to avoid using tariffs to resolve their differences. In the quarterly update of its World Economic Outlook, the IMF trimmed the global forecast issued in April by 0.1 percentage point this year and next, with growth expected to hit 3.2% in 2019 and 3.5% in 2020. But the report sounded the alarm, saying things could easily go wrong. Gopinath warned that the recovery seen next year is precarious because close to 70% of the increase relies on an improvement in the growth performance in stressed emerging market and developing economies is therefore subject to high uncertainty.
Taxi drivers and police clashed during a protest against Uber and MUV transport platforms, leaving a dozen injured people and 7 arrested, police sources said. They're protesting against a bill regarding Uber and MUV, its Paraguayan platform similar to Uber, regulations in Asuncion. On July 23, 2019, 13 taxi drivers were arrested during the protest. Uber and MUV do not offer a transport service per se, but they facilitate the relationship between those who are willing to share their vehicle with third parties and third parties who need to be transported to a certain place and are willing to pay for the service used. However, there are always those who do not go along with taxi union leadership.
Once feared by Thai rice farmers, giant snails are now being pampered for their precious slime, which is prized by the cosmetics industry, particularly in South Korea and the United States.
And those don't reject slime can be used in something else.
เป็นชาวบ้านธรรมดาที่มีอาชีพทำสวนทำไร่ที่ในพื้นที่เขามีหอยทากตัวนี้ที่มันทำลายพืชผักของเขาเนี่ยเขาก็เลยเก็บมาทุกทีเขาจะโยนทิ้งให้รถทับหรือโยนลงแม่น้ำอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะ
ที่เราจะนำเมือกไปใช้นะคะก็จะต้องทำให้เมือกนั้นบริสุทธิ์ก่อนนะคะแล้วก็ปลอดสารเจือปนต่างๆแล้วก็แบคทีเรียที่ก่อให้เกิดโรคนะคะเราจะใช้วิธีการกรองผ่านเมมเบรนฟิลเตอร์นะคะ
When we do same this for they can communicate ธัญพืชพวกเกรนหรือถั่วเขากินได้หมดนะครับเปลือกไม้แม้แต่เห็ดก็กิน
นะครับดังนั้นเนี่ยจากการที่กินอะไรได้หลากหลายเนี่ยทำให้ตัวเขามีความแข็งแรงแล้วก็สร้างเมือกที่มีคุณภาพดีสามารถที่จะกันแดดมีคุณสมบัติในการกันแดดมีคุณสมบัติในการรักษาแผล
and you can use them
Chinese telecom giant Huawei said on Tuesday that more than 600 jobs would be lost at the U.S. unit as a result of a curtailment of business operations caused by Washington's sanctions on the firm and 68 of its subsidiaries. The layoffs will come as the Chinese company's U.S.-based research and development arm, Huawei Technologies, which is incorporated in Texas, an email statement from Huawei said. Huawei employs more than 750 people, according to Bloomberg's corporate information database. The Trump administration has put Huawei on its so-called entity list, which means U.S. companies need a license to supply it with U.S. technology. Huawei, a leader in next-generation 5G wireless technology, remains barred from developing 5G networks in the U.S., and the Trump administration is trying to convince its allies to do the same. Washington accuses Huawei of working directly with the Chinese government, a claim the company denies. After President Trump met China's Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Osaka last month, the U.S. president said he would ease the punitive measures on Huawei as long as equipment sold to it did not pose any risk to national security. The Washington Post reported this week that Huawei secretly helped North Korea build and maintain the country's commercial wireless network. The Post, citing internal documents it obtained and people familiar with the arrangement, said Huawei has partnered with a Chinese state-owned firm, Panda International Information Technology, on projects in North Korea over at least 8 years. By doing so, Huawei, which has used U.S. technology in its components, may have violated U.S. controls on exports to Pyongyang.
Hundreds of friendly robots that sing and speak multiple languages are being rolled out across high-tech Singapore to help clean the city-state's hotels, shopping malls, and government buildings.
I'm your own superstar. When I reach your public special just to me, come down and check out the hottest pictures from way in the beat. It's fun because I'm the coolest thing in town. I'll make the world light up. Hey, never gonna
For my vision for the robotics is for the robots to be the human's assistant, to be a buddy of the human, such that one human can clean a much bigger area because he has got a couple of robot assistants. Yeah, so rather than replacing a human, it will be to extend the capabilities and to help the humans have an easier job. Everybody knows a cleaner that is always friendly and would remember your name and say hi. So we hope to recreate that, to have a robot just to greet you when you come in, to say good morning, good afternoon, welcome, see you again. And those are things that make people happy.
4 of the robots, which have oval-shaped heads with lights for eyes, have already got down to work, and it is hoped that 300 will be put into service by March next year. They scrub, mop, vacuum, and sweep autonomously and can entertain by rapping in English. The robots speak all 4 of multi-ethnic Singapore's official languages: English, Malay, Mandarin, and Tamil, plus Japanese and Singlish, a local patois that mixes English with words from the myriad local tongues. The robots can be rented from 1,350 Singapore dollars, about $1,000 a month. LionsBot has signed agreements with 6 cleaning partners to deploy the robots gradually over the coming months as they are produced. Those already in use are in Changi Airport's new shopping and entertainment complex, an art gallery, a resort, and an office building. The robots also have a serious purpose to help plug a labor shortage in the rapidly aging country of 5.6 million people.
And don't forget the hashtag, you can see it on the back. It's hashtag
tight turn that she did at the end as well.
Yes.
She didn't do a very wide turn.
Next time, I want to be the best cleaning bot in the whole world.
Eagle News will be right back.
Watch your favorite Net25 shows on OSN channel 725 same day as the Philippines.
Net25 is now available on OSN, the largest entertainment network in the Middle East and North Africa.
Watch your favorite Net25 shows live
and on demand anytime, anywhere on
any mobile device on OSN Play.
All right, here's the latest in sports news from Ben Bernaldez. Ben?
NBA #1 draft pick Zion Williamson has inked a multi-year shoe deal with the Nike-affiliated Jordan brand, the emerging star and the company said on Tuesday. The announcement comes 5 months after Williamson missed a string of Duke University games after he suffered a sprained right knee when his Nike shoe blew apart during contest against an arch-rival North Carolina. The deal, whose terms were not announced, comes after Williamson spent months contemplating offers from rival manufacturers. It made headlines when he sported Puma shoes at the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas. Jordan Brand, which grew out of NBA icon Michael Jordan's long relationship with Nike, confirmed the signing. Jordan himself, a 6-time NBA champion with the Chicago Bulls, who now owns the Charlotte Hornets, lauded Williamson's incredible determination, character, and play. Meanwhile, retired superstar Floyd Mayweather has been named special advisor to China's boxing team as they look to improve their medal count at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, the Chinese Boxing Federation said. The federation said American legend Mayweather had pledged to go all out to use his influence and resources to support the Chinese boxing project in achieving excellent results at the Tokyo Olympics. It made the announcement in a post on its official account on Chinese social media platform WeChat. Mayweather made no mention of the appointment on his social media accounts, and the Chinese announcement gave no further details of his role. Boxing legend Mayweather had a perfect 50-0 record in the ring with 27 knockouts. He won world titles in 5 different weight divisions and was considered the best pound-for-pound boxer in the sport. The sport was once banned in China, and it took until Athens 2004 for Zhu Ximing to win the country's first Olympic medal, a light flyweight bronze. Zhu went on to claim gold at the next 2 games, and there have been further successes since, especially after the introduction of women's boxing at the London 2012. In the Olympics, the president of the International Olympic Committee, IOC, Thomas Bach, practices mock fencing with a young Japanese junior high school student during an event marking 1 year before the start of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. And these are the stories for EN Sports. I'm Ben Bernaldez, and I am 1 with 25.
Tokyo Olympics unveiled medal design at ceremony marking a year until the 2020 Games open, with officials promising a high-tech but eco-friendly event. Tokyo promised a high-tech Olympics complete with robots as it marked a year to go until the 2020 Games on Wednesday, hoping to leave behind some bumps in the road, including on an ongoing corruption investigation. Organizers have battled everything from fears over deadly heat to persistent questions about the cost of the games and how Tokyo won its bid. But as the one-year countdown began, they touted speedy progress in venue construction and pledged a historic games. Tokyo 2020 President Yoshiro Mori said, praised the speed of the city's preparations as an Olympic record. Half of the new permanent venues have been completed, and organizers say construction of the rest is on track. While cooler weather this summer has assuaged fears raised by a deadly heat wave last year, organizers say they have a raft of safety measures planned in case temperatures soar. Tactics from misting towers to flower beds, which don't radiate heat and which organizers say also have a psychological cooling effect, will be tested this week at a beach volleyball event.
With the countdown underway, organizers have also been stepping up efforts to promote the Games as a showcase for Japan's high-tech know-how. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe trips over and almost stumbles to the ground as he attends a Tokyo 2020 progress meeting with the International Olympic Committee. Government and businesses are hoping to dazzle visitors with everything from driverless airport transport to robot greeters and mascots. The organizers have even teamed up with 2 Japanese astronauts who will send messages of support from the International Space Station to those carrying the Olympic torch through the country. 1 year ahead of the Games, IOC President Thomas Bach says he has never seen another Olympic city so ready.
I can really say that I have never seen any Olympic city being so ready with their preparations 1 year before the Games as Tokyo already is.
Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards and Pinterests and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's it for tonight's broadcast. But before we go, I would like to thank Anna Kui for joining us tonight from our Las Vegas bureau.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you for having me, Alma and Sam.
Yes. So, Anna, thank you so much. I'm Alma Angeles, and
we are one with 25.